right, let's do this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the edition of Uper Farmer Cigar Garage Talks. We're in the garage. It is cold. It's nasty. It's wet. So we're just in the garage. I think we're going to be in the garage probably now for the duration of the season until the spring graces us with some bright sunshine. I don't think we're going to get any more days that we can sneak out and be out on the deck or the porch. So how you guys doing? I'm doing quite well. But before I get into that, what are we smoking? What are we drinking? It's actually a really good day today for many reasons. We're going to get into that, but to celebrate, we have one of my cigars from the Downtown Smoking Club, the Downtown Lansing Smoking Club. This is just such a fun cigar. It's got the 3 different shades of tobacco worked into it. So as you smoke it, it progressively gets more and more robust. Just a delicious cigar. And our buddy, our pal, Dragon's Milk. Yep, barrel-aged stout. This is the one that gave me hope that barrel aging was going to change the beer brewing industry. Spoiler alert, it did not. Dragon's Milk knew what they were doing. Many of these other companies do not. Good solid head on there. I'm using my D&D cup. It holds quite a bit of fluid. Yep, good old Dragon's Milk. So anyhow, why are we celebrating? First off, for those of you guys who've been following the channel, there was some turmoil at my job. We thought we were going to lose funding. They were going to cut a bunch of positions. They did not cut as many positions as we had feared. We thought the cuts were going to come from my unit. They didn't. More on that in a minute. But on official record, none of ours got cut from our unit. Perfect. Great. Awesome. Love it. So for the next year, I still have a job. I guess much rejoice, right? Awesome. I like monies. I like jobs. I don't necessarily want to be sleeping on a park bench. So good. I have a job. Next, today is my birthday. So thank you for the birthday wishes. We're having a big celebration today. Lots of good food. Unfortunately, I did not have my kids get me any presents because if I would have been, laid off or approaching layoff, I really didn't want to have my kids get me, waste money on gifts for me. So I'm not getting any presents this year. My kids might get me some next week. We might celebrate again because I do want to get Dad some gifts. But I told them not until I know if I have a job, which I felt was fair enough. Also, we have 2 new priests in our at our parish. They're coming out for dinner, which I pull up the stops for that. Really celebrate new priests. It's a noble, wonderful calling. And I have a lot of respect for people who pick up that calling. So they're coming out to visit, which I thoroughly enjoy. I love inviting priests out for meals, making a big spectacle of it, a big deal. That's just my thing, right? I don't expect everyone should do that, but that's me. I enjoy it. So we do have a pork loin out in the smoker. We're going to have potatoes, stuffing, homemade bread, street corn. Just fill the whole place up with delicious smells and flavors and all that good stuff. But what topic are we talking about tonight? So tonight, we're talking about perfection. I did not go to this meeting, so I'm only going off secondhand quotes, but the quotes all seem to line up. Because what our bureau director said kind of shocked us all. So, as you guys know, I work for environmental health. The bureau director during this meeting tells us that there were some complaints about how they handled this layoff procedure. They were not forthcoming with information. They definitely kept secrets, were not transparent at all. Their transparency was a big fat zero. And not me, but someone else called them out on it. Because I wasn't at the meeting, but they did say that this person probably, they thought it was me. It was not. I was not there. Glad I wasn't. I would have been blamed for someone else's comment, but his comment was valid. He made two comments. One, they were talking about how they're congratulating themselves for getting a budget done and whatnot. And the guy said, "Listen, we're losing 9, 10 jobs. I don't think anyone should be celebrating or saying that's a good job because they could have done better." And he kind of, when he said that, pushed him about this process is just. Why'd you wait so long? Why is the process so cumbersome? And the bureau director, the bureau director said, well, we here are tasked with being perfect. Everything we do must be perfection. That is what the people above us expect. What a bold statement. We're not going to do anything until we do it perfect. So we have to have perfection on our minds. That's so bizarre to me. One, as a Catholic and a Christian, I can tell you nothing's perfect except God, right? Only what comes from God is perfection. We cannot create anything that's perfect, period. I mean, it's just full stop, we cannot. Many other cultures also believe this. You have, if you ever heard about the Persian flaw, the rug makers who make rugs over in Persia, they started to be, people would say, well, your rugs are perfection. They're perfect. So to not want to anger their God, they started putting flaws in the rug. Because again, they believe that nothing perfect can be done by man, only God can make something perfect. And to try to strive for perfection, you are actually going up against God. And that's not a good thing. In case if you've read the Bible, that never ends well. But on a more practical note, coming from EMS, coming from disaster response, coming from risk communication background, when you strive for perfection and you demand perfection, one, your response is going to be slower and it will always be substandard. It'll always lead people, lead to more destruction, more death, confusion. It'll lead to, people getting injured, getting hurt, worse outcomes. And this is not just me talking, from my many years of experience being in the field. This is well researched. Even in risk communications training, when you're talking about hazardous communications, risk communication, emergency communication, they tell you don't wait for it to be 100% confirmed before you report on it. Make sure what you report on is accurate, but it doesn't have to be 100% confirmed. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can, and state that. State as much that this is what we know so far. It might not be perfect, but we're going to keep striving until we get you the most accurate information. Because the problem is when you don't, people fill in the blanks, right? People come in and they do their own research. They find their own information. They start their own conspiracy theories and rumors. At work, because we were not given timely information, conspiracy theories ran rampant. People all over had theories about were they going to fire all the secretaries? Were they going to downsize this unit, that unit? Were they just going to, close the doors on environmental health altogether? Everyone's saying, well, I'm going to be cut. They're going to be cut. We're better than them. Don't trust them, trust us. And the amount of pain and suffering that was caused was immense. And it was all caused because these individuals wanted to wait for it to be perfect before they got their message out. One of the examples is we got our budgetary numbers and they told us all, they've been contingency planning all summer long. That once they had the budget, they had a plan for it. And okay, well, do you have a plan? Budget came in. Well, yeah, we have a plan. Can you share it with us? No, no, no. Because see, we have to submit the plan. Okay, well, I can respect that. I guess if you're, maybe while you're submitting it, you tweak your plan a little bit, right? No plan sticks together when faced against the enemy. I know I slaughtered that quote. I'm sorry. But once they submit it, well, now you can tell us. Well, no, no, no. We're not going to tell you till it's approved. I'm like, wow, does the administration really deny? Like, do they really change the request? Well, no. The request? No, 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 no. If we submit it, it's going to be approved as is. Well, why not tell us? Because what happened is the individuals who did get fired, instead of getting about 3 to 4 weeks of advance notice that they should look for a job, they're barely getting 2. And all because they wanted a perfect response. But because they waited for it to be perfect, these people now have less time to find jobs, less time to secure their future. And the rest of us all had worse anxiety because we thought we were the ones being cut. Where, had we known 3 weeks ago, there were projects that we would have committed more time. Because again, we're not going to go full tilt. If I'm going to get fired, I'm not going full tilt, right? I'm not going to put in that A+ effort. If I think my job's going to end, which that was the rumor, my job was on the chopping block. Turns out it may not have been. But if that's what I believe, then you know what? Screw this. I'm not going to put in A+ work. I'll put in like C- work, right? Just above average, maybe C+. Because why? If I believe I'm going to get fired, I'm not going to do my very best. And that's what a lot of people ran into. They're like, well, why keep working at 100% if I'm going to be fired? When in truth, they weren't. They knew for 2 weeks before. 2 weeks before they announced it. So they almost the whole month of October. If they'd known their job was most likely safe, they would have went full tilt. One of my managers actually told me, she's like, well, what if we told someone that they're getting fired and then the administration's like, no, 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 we want to keep that person. I told them, that's called Christmas. That's called a Christmas miracle. That's called a gift from God. If someone's told you're going to lose your job, they need a week to mope. Hey, I'm all about take that week to mope. And then the next week you're told, hey, by the way, the administration says they want to keep your job. That's the best day ever. I can't imagine anyone being like, well, this is horrible news. No, that's the best day ever. Like, that's awesome. Sing the praises. That's glory to God on high. This is wonderful. My job is safe. But that didn't happen. Instead, management had to have it perfect. And as has been shown time and time again, this has been studied, this has been tested. Now, some companies have taken it to the extreme, but to get to my point, it's been tested that you don't need it to be perfect. You need to be good, you need to be right, but it doesn't have to be perfect. We can work on perfection. As more data comes out, we can perfect something. As I kind of alluded to, there are some companies that take that to extreme. Software companies, right? Unfortunately, some of them don't put out a good product. They just put out a product and then patch it later. But a lot of them learn that, hey, we don't have to have the perfect product going out. We can have a good one, and then we can modify it until it is what we believe to be perfect, or near perfect, or as close as it'll allow before we offend God. But to wait like they did at the state, horrifying. And again, this isn't Uper Farmer talking about my experience. This is well documented, well-researched results of people who look at the difference between the individuals who try to strive for a perfect response for those who try to just strive for a good response, and then we'll modify it later. The quote I butchered, no plan survives the battlefield, or survives confrontation. Basically saying, if you have a good battle plan, you go into battle with it, you're going to have to pivot. But if you're waiting until you have that perfect battle plan before you go to war, you've already lost the war. Or until you go to battle, you've already lost the war. Yeah, that was better. Wish I said that first. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good. Life changes way too rapidly for perfection. And I'm dumbfounded, absolutely dumbfounded that this was the state's response. That this is their guiding compass, their mantra, that we have to be perfect. I'm sorry, folks. You know what's going to happen? We're going to have worse outcomes. We're going to have more pain, more suffering than if you just had a good response. If you had a good response, it would have done a lot better. So anyway, folks, I'm going to go have a celebration, go finish my cigar, finish my dragon's milk, finish cooking some hopefully delicious food for some priests. And in the words of Ving Rhames from Dawn of the Dead, he talks about, whenever we had one of our brothers fall, we'd all sit there and, wave a salute, help fold the flag, tell the widow how sorry we are. But deep down, every one of us goes, better you than me. I'm going to ruminate on that, maybe watch that scene from Dawn of the Dead. And I'm thankful I have a job, but I don't know if I'm going to stop looking. Anyway, folks, stay safe out there. We'll see you in the next one.